So we're going to vary the movements for hamstrings from the traditional way of working, which you might think of as an eccentric contraction, or we think of it as lengthening, into some more really good concentric work and isometric work there, when we're holding the muscles in even work on either side of the joint, so that the joint isn't moving but the muscles are working. So I'm going to just lie on a bolster. You could just lie on the floor, and then instead of just doing my cobra or whatever, I'm going to focus on the legs. I'm going to bring my heel in towards my glute, so that's concentric contraction on the back of the legs, and then I'll do a little bit of hip extension here. So I'm kind of kicking up with my knee, but trying to really squeeze the heel down towards my bum at the same time. So it's more this action of heel down towards bum that really gets the hamstrings going. And a good way of working with that, you can of course do the same thing from tabletop. So a great way of working that would be to try and squeeze a block between your heel or your calf and your thigh, really. Or you could think your heel and your bum, but that might be a bit killer. So I'm going to try and squeeze that block as much as I can, and then lift the knee a little. So there's a tiny bit of hip extension, but more than that, I'm trying to squeeze the heel down. I can definitely feel the hamstrings. So that's a really great way to work. And then of course we could, same kind of action from kneeling, from low lunge. So I could bring this heel up. Feel free to double your mat or whatever. Feel free to have bricks for your hands if you prefer, for the balance, or your students might want them. So now, instead of just focusing on the hip extension, I'm going to lift up the foot again and squeeze my heel in towards my bum. And as I get a little bit of gentle cramp, I'm going to let go and try again. So sometimes the cramp comes when neurologically the body's just not really used to it. And so the muscles just kind of go into spasm. And I'm going to try and kick my bottom with my heel. Can really feel the hamstrings. And then ease that out again. So you get that idea. You can try that from same action, tabletop, low lunge, lying, and finally from standing, let's have a play with warrior 3 pose. And you start to see how props can be evil things rather than our helpers. They can rev things up more. So once more, I'm going to take this leg behind. I'm going to bring the block into place. I'm going to go to warrior 3 and pray. And then I'm going to squeeze the heel towards my bottom. I could take the arms forward, or I could have the hands on blocks for support. Kick, 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 kick. Quite a nice movement phrase is to move from here, maybe then lengthen out into warrior 3. You could always push the block forward, and you could always try kick the block. So kind of keep on using the prop in a dynamic way, or just take the leg forward, one or the other. Feels so good in the hamstrings afterwards. And you could, of course, just cycle through that a few times because it's quite hard work. So you don't necessarily want to do loads in any one go. So there's a few ideas there. Some of that work of dynamically standing to sitting, this one I kind of showed in the introduction, or this one. They'll do the whole leg a little bit, but they're more really quads. Hamstrings will kind of be helping to stabilize. So not so much that. But the other way that's fantastic to work this is bridge pose. So I will come to lying onto my back. Actually, I'll show first of all with a rock and roll version, and then a sliding version. So I'm going to do an active twist over to the side. You could simply do this curling up action. That will give a little bit of work for the back body and twisting behind. So often we initiate the twist a little bit higher in the spine. I'm kind of initiating it really from the hip And then I could twist over, get this underneath arm kind of out of the way, lift for a bridge, and then bring the leg forward, get more active work in the glutes. And now, because I've fallen off of the mat, slide the legs out. And as you go lower and hold, you're having an eccentric contraction, but really strong. Isometric contraction, sorry, really strong. Release down, and then roll all the way back to where you came from. So the right leg lifting again. I'll show on the other side. I'm going to roll across with the other leg. So I'm just going to have this arm out so the front shoulder will get to open a bit. Kick behind. Forgot the mic was in the way. Kick behind, kick and roll. See if you want that arm a little bit closer. Especially if you were teaching students for the first time. As they rolled, I would let their arms come in close. Push up. So because I've loaded this bridge into one leg, that's already more work for those supporting muscles. So particularly around the glutes. You could also pulse up there. Lengthen forward and hold for a bit more work. Bring the leg in. And now lengthen out. So eccentric as you lengthen out. Hold. Isometric. Release all the way down. Prep to come round. Left leg lifting again. And then you may feel that you've kind of warmed up quite well into the back bends because it's really quite active doing that work. So you might add in a cobra or up dog or whatever you want. Feel free to rest. So I'm going to grab my socks and show another option for your bridge pose. So some people have quite snazzy sliders or that kind of thing, that little discs that seem to slide on carpet or on the floor. I have snazzy socks. So take a bridge, a low bridge, and then you can slide the legs out basically. Should have gone the other way. So, lift up, slide out with control, la la la. You can try and hold a low bridge. The back body has to work to lift. Good, and then you could try and slide back in. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it from there. So, I'm going to lift to there and just do that a little bit. I'll try and go a bit further, sliding out. And in, sliding out, and in. My hips are dropping. Try to keep your hips charged up, sliding out, and in, and release. I never do those because they're such hard work and so unfamiliar. I'm just going to give my hamstrings back their characteristic shape. So you can see that is such a brilliant practice because it's so unfamiliar in yogis' bodies to have that really good work in the hamstrings. So I think that should be enough hamstring work for you and for your students, so enjoy.